Hi, my name is Brody Park. I'm in 7th grade and my category is programming. So here is my code. So the intended purpose is to show how coding can be used to decipher words or sentences that are encrypted. So here, let me bring you through my project. So here is the executable. So let me give you an example of how the encryption part of this works. So let's say I put in my name, I encryption, and however many times you want to shift it up to 25, because if it's 26, that would just bring it back to the original state of the word or sentence. So let's say I'll do 16. So it'll shift each letter back. Well, in the original Caesar cipher, it shifts it forward, so it goes B, and then shift 1 to C. But in ours, it's reverse Caesar cipher, so it goes B to back to A. So I'll show you. Encrypt of 16, it goes to L, B, Y, and I. So let's try a sentence. Coding is fun. So encryption, let's say 24. Encryption, and here it is. So let's go through the decryption part of it now. So I'll select decryption, and let's say you do know how many times it was shifted. So let's say you know it was shifted 24 times. Decrypt, and here it is. Coding is fun. Alright, so now let's pretend that you didn't know how many times it was shifted. So I have a solution for that. Brute force method. So this one takes it through all the possible outcomes of the Caesar cipher. So here it is. Here there's 1 to 25. As I explained, you can't go up to 26 because it would just take it back to the original state. So here, 1, not correct, 2, and then goes all the way up here, and then 24. Let's look at 24. Coding is fun. There is the original input. Okay, so there is my executable and how it works. So now I'll take you through a little bit of my code. So I made 10 methods for all my code. So I'll take you through one or two of them. So I'll start with the first one I made. So it's called encrypt selected. So for this one, I'll take you through each line. The first one, run button dot enabled equal true. So when encrypt selected, so the encryption button, when it's selected, the run button, which is this one down here, which makes it actually work, it is enabled, and also the text turns to encrypted. So let me show you that. So here it is. So let's put it in coding. Right now you see it's gray and there's dot dot dot. There's not encrypt. So when I click it, it's now enabled and it says encrypt. Shift by 1 goes here. Okay, so now I'll show you the next line, the if statement. So if encrypt button is checked, which means if you click on it and it's checked, the brute force button, which is this one, which you only use for decryption, is set to false. The visibility is set to false, and the checked is set to false. So that is how one of my methods works. So I'll take you by a little bit of what I learned doing this project. So the first thing I learned is, which I think is a really cool part, my favorite part of this code, is iterating through for loops. So I'll show you what that is. Let me find one. Here one is. So this is a for loop. So what it does, the integer I starts at 0. And every time it runs through it, as I is less than alphabet.length, which is this is the global variable, which goes up to 26. As it is less than that, I plus plus, which makes this I variable go up by 1. So that is what I think is really cool. And then when it goes up by 1, this is what it does here. That's gonna take a while to explain the whole thing. So another thing I learned is how to use Visual Studios. So before I used to do just projects which printed out to console in Java, which is basically the same thing as this. But for this project, I had to create a GUI, which is basically the executable and what it looks like. So I had to learn how it works. So, which I think is really cool, is how I made my own GUI, and it's very easy. You pull out an input box, you can put it here, and then you also have like text fields, labels, this is a label, buttons, this is a button, radio buttons, numeric up down, which is this. You have checkbox objects, which is this, which I think is really cool. Okay. Alright, so here, now I will show you cited sources and everything I used. So here, let me find this. Here are my cited works. So these are all I use just for references and stuff like that. Here they are. So this first link I use for learning how to convert decimals to integers, which I didn't know how to, in C#. The second one, the Cipher website, which is the original one. So the Wikipedia is the description of a Caesar cipher, which is actually a part of my code, which I forgot to explain. So I press start. Here it is. So there's a help button, which like when I click it, it takes me to this, the Caesar cipher Wikipedia. Okay. So here it is, and then the Stack Overflow, which finding out C#'s equivalent of Java's char@" method. So it's basically, so when I went from Java to C# for this project, there's different ways of calling stuff. So that's where I learned a bunch of that. And reflection on improvements. So I'll go through that. If I had to do this all over again, I would try to do this in Java. And I've heard that it's possible to do a GUI in Java. It's just harder. So that would be a really cool challenge for me to do, to learn how to make a GUI in that language. So I think that would be a great project for me to do next. All right. Thank you for listening.